Welcome to Sound of Hope News. I'm your host, Wei Fang.
I'm Cathy Zhang.
Thank you very much for coming to our show. And today, what we want to talk to you about is the current, hesitation that the Biden administration have regarding the U.S.-Sino academic and the technology exchange, especially in the U.S. universities. And there's a lot of implication behind that. That's why we want to reveal this to you today. And okay, so Cathy, you want to go ahead?
Yeah, so first of all, we want to share with the news about Cornell University, what's happening there. Cornell University, early last year, they are planning to have a joint degree. It's a dual degree program with Beijing University in China, which will train middle level managers from China. Although, the proposal says that it will bring at least about $500,000 to the university in the first year, and it's gonna grow to $1 million. But right now, actually, both the professors and the students in Cornell University all oppose this program. And why is that? It's big. The reason being the concern of China's academic freedom as well as the human rights issue, especially how the Chinese Communist government treat the Uyghurs. And we all know that it has been defined as a genocide by the State Department from both the Trump administration and Biden administration. However, in the Cornell University, there are supporting professors. So it's very revealing, So we want to share with you why they are supporting and why the others are opposing. And from there, we will, have our discussion. For the professors who support such programs, saying that, we know there's problem in China, the human rights issue, what happened in Xinjiang, but they said that restricting academic exchange is not the answer. They also claim that the human rights abuse in China has been existing there before we have this proposal and probably will still exist after our program is done. So that's the excuse. And but this type of rhetoric actually is very opposed by the other professors who feel that the human rights situation in China, especially in Xinjiang, is extremely bad, and there's no way for them to morally support such joint program. And these professors said just because you ignore it or cover it up, this issue won't just go away, won't disappear. And also for the professor who said the genocide has nothing to do with us, it's very, very disturbing to them. And they feel that the project is mainly aiming to the financial benefits instead of academic exchange. And that they are worried that under the human rights situation in China, would Cornell University can keep its academic freedom while, if they go ahead with such a joint program. So actually, Cornell University is not the first university, and it's not the only university have this type of cooperation with universities or research institutions in China. And even some United States universities work with Chinese universities which were supported by the CCP government or even the CCP military. For example, Harvard University School of Public Health has established a partnership with 7 Chinese universities to help promote the reform of China's Medicare system. But 6 out of these 7 Chinese universities actually related to the People's Liberation Army, okay? And another example is the Global Health Center of the University of Pennsylvania established a partnership with the Beijing Union Medical College. You know what is this Beijing Union Medical College? It is under the direct supervision of CCP's National Health Commission. And by the way, Beijing, Peking University or Beijing University actually is not a simple university. It actually act as the function of education department of the CCP government. So this the issue that sparked by the Cornell University actually just really kind of expose a bigger question that is between China and the United States. Does the academic or scientific research cooperation, is it a win-win situation or it actually has a deeper problem? People have different views. So some academics believe that the open international cooperation brings progress, brings win-win results, and they claim that it's the only way to promote technological security and progress. And one of them was from University of Southern California. His name is Najmuddin Mashkati. It's a very long name. So he's a professor of civil and environmental engineer. He said that even in the period of Cold War, he said, American universities or the research center maintain a number of scientific cooperation with the Soviet Union, and why now we cannot work with China. But the others, for example, the senior researcher at the Hudson Institute, his name is Arthur Herman. He believes that national security should be the priority when we, just in such a scientific and technological cooperation with China. And he's worried that the Beijing's human rights violation against the Uyghurs or against the religious minorities and dissidents in Hong Kong, should be the consideration. He was asking the leadership of these Harvard, Yale universities really want to be treated in the history, be seen as a boost for Beijing to advance its agenda. So he pointed out that in the Cold War, the American universities, including big companies like IBM, worked with Nazi Germany. And at that time, they considered such cooperation, such projects are beneficial to the progress of science and technology. But later now, people realized, it's actually helped the political agenda of Nazi Germany, and people say never again, right? So these are really kind of different opinions about this issue, and also it's really, I think right now it's really highlighted by the incidents from Cornell University. So we would like to give you some analysis and more kind of in-depth background of such issue, right?
Yeah. So before I give you my reasoning and analysis, let me give you my answer first. U.S. has to take a hardline position, has to be very strict on this kind of academic exchange. Let me tell you why, okay? But before you do that, remember that on the screen there's this this email address. If you can leave your email with us, and we'll be very appreciative, because our channel is restricted by quite a bit, and we need to find new place to grow our audience. We would like you to leave your email with us so that we know where you are, how to reach you, how to notify you, okay? So thank you for that. Just take a few seconds to leave us with your email, and we're very appreciative. We'll not abuse your email, okay? We'll promise here. Anyway, so let me first tell you this analogy that Newt Gingrich, the former Speaker of the House, gave. I gave this in the previous talk. I just want to quickly repeat that. Let's say that the sand. The sand is it's just very, very, valuable. There's a valuable island. On the island, okay, the sand is very, very valuable, okay? So each sand embodies certain information, okay? So everybody wants to get those sand as much as possible. So the U.S. would fly over the satellite and from the sky, just beam the signal into the island and analysis the ingredients of the sand and collect all the information, send them to the supercomputer and so forth and so on and so forth, right? So Russia, they would send a submarine at midnight. They just have some frogmen climb on the island and they just steal a few bags of sand and just sneak back to the submarine, the traditional spy model. Okay, for the Chinese, Chinese have a cruise ship come here, and hundreds of ladies and old ladies, kids, and come to the island, sunbathing and tour around and play around, and then sightseeing, take some photo, and they go back to they went back to the cruise ship. Mm-hmm. After they got onto the cruise ship, they just take their shoes, empty the sand, and then their towel, their bathing towel, they just empty, just get the sand out of the towel and the clothing, and then they just shake the clothes, and all the sand came out. So they collect way more than what Russia and the American did.
Okay.
That's the analogy, okay. But after that, Newt Gingrich said, the speaker said, I don't mean to say every Chinese is a spy, okay? But I want to highlight that how Chinese government operates. And to them, it's all of a government and all of a society approach in terms of spying, okay? And any overseas Chinese student can be approached by the National Security Agency and have them really just play out their schoolwork just as a normal student. And only afterwards, they will get in touch with him and ask him to send back certain information from Google or Apple or and what have you, okay? So this is quite normal. This is something that America and Russia, Soviet Union, never did. They could not do it. This is something very unique about the Chinese government. And so before I tell you why we should take a very hardline position, let me tell you another little bit of background, okay, for you to know about that. As you know that during the Cold War time, U.S. is against the Soviet Union and also against the Red China, right? And the Soviet Union become very, very threatening. And so in 1972, U.S. broke the stalemate, right? The Kissinger went to Beijing and paved the road for President Nixon to go to Beijing and met with Mao Zedong and Zhou Enlai, the prime minister. And so at that time, the supreme leader of the CCP, Mao Zedong was play very humble to Nixon. And this is what they said. Even when our economy is developed, we will still not consider ourselves a superpower, and we will not join in the ranks of the superpowers. Mao Zedong said, "You have concern about me? It's like the cat weeping over the dead mouse." He told Nixon that we are substantially weaker power, and so we are non-threatening, and we are only struggling to learn and grow. We're very backward. Okay, so Mao and Zhou try very hard to assure Nixon that China is a country that needs help, has no ambition whatsoever. All right, that happened in 1972. So on that very year, Nixon provided very valuable military intelligence to CCP about the deployment of the Indian Indian armies in the southern border and the Soviet Union's military deployment on the northern border, okay? Because those are the two main rivals of the CCP. So in 1973, and the Nixon administration start to go more and provide more things to CCP. And one set of major things are the military radar. Okay, military radars connecting the commanding center of Beijing with their bomber base. And then in 1978, okay, this is what happened. President Jimmy Carter sent his science advisor, Frank Press, who was a MIT professor, okay, to Beijing to meet with Deng Xiaoping, and he also led a big delegation of scientists, U.S. scientists. And then Deng Xiaoping showed a very, strong interest in the U.S. science and technology. And then he then told Frank Press, saying that we are so eager to learn, and we are so developed, and we really respect U.S. superiority, okay, and we need to improve. He said, can I send 700 Chinese science students to the U.S. university to learn from you? Frank Press, this is according to this book, okay? Frank Press was so excited. He thinks this is groundbreaking, okay? He called he called Jimmy Carter at 3 o'clock in the morning in Washington, D.C., U.S. Eastern Time, and conveyed this message. Okay, so Presidential Directive 43 was signed. Various programs was created under this directive, and a lot of Chinese science and technology students came to the U.S., learned physical science, agriculture, energy, space, geoscience, commerce, public health, and so on and so forth. All right. Then next year, 1979, Deng Xiaoping visited U.S. He went to Disneyland, went to Houston Space Center, toured the Coca-Cola headquarters, and then he put on the 10-gallon cowboy hat, and he waved to the public. This was very well perceived. Deng sounds to be very harmless, is very tranquil, very humble, and very trustworthy. Oh, those are nice Chinese. Okay, so Deng have a great PR success in that tour. And in that tour, Deng and Jimmy Carter signed many partnership program, one of which is 19,000 students from China will come to study in the U.S. university in the following 5 months. That was when I was in actually college, okay? And at that time there was a program called CASPIA. CASPIA is called what? Chinese U.S. CASPIA. Anyway, very esteemed program. Only the very top student of the top university in China in physics and biology got to join this program, come to U.S. as overseas student. They pay nothing. Everything's paid by the U.S. Okay, they come here as just pay no tuition whatsoever, and they got scholarship and things like that. And that was my dream when I first entered the college. I said I need to get onto CASPIA programs. This is one of the programs that Deng Xiaoping and Jimmy Carter set up. Okay, then afterwards, U.S. transferred so many technology into to China, and Newt Gingrich said, this was the largest historical transfer of the U.S. expertise in this field, okay, ever. So in that sense, U.S. helped China a lot. And then what happened next? Okay, so Reagan got elected, right? Reagan was skeptical about the CCP, but he still went on to carry out the course that was already laid there. Reagan enabled the collaboration and with the PLA, People's Liberation Army, and the U.S. transferred advanced air, ground, naval, and missile technology. And during that time, they also started the U.S.-China Nuclear Cooperation and Development Programs, help China declare nuclear technology, possibly nuclear weapon. And for $1 billion price, the Reagan administration agreed to sell 6 major weapon systems to China. I don't know what it is, but 6 major weapon systems to China. Now they come to the university, okay? In those 10 years, okay, many institutions run by the Chinese government obtained funding and the training resources from the U.S. All right, and then in 1986, U.S. helped China with the developing 8 national research centers, and along with those universities, a gigantic transfer of knowledge and know-how in genetic engineering, intelligent robotics, artificial intelligence, automation, biotechnology, lasers, supercomputers, space technology, and manned space flight. All right, it's just mass transfer. And then after the Soviet Union fell apart, okay, Cold War finished, and Clinton carried on the course because he believed that by lifting millions of Chinese people out of poverty, they would become middle class, and China will, change for the better. And then when it comes to George W. Bush, and he think that the Bush Jr. and he think allow China to enter WTO, become a responsible member of the international family. And then now the rest, we know the rest of the story, right? China shows true color and is, not just taking but also stealing, and until now it's just basically mass stealing. It's still happening today. They're confident they can steal everything the U.S. created or innovate. That's why they are so confident and so strong. Anyway, the reason why I say so much of this is so that you know what happened. And by the way, let me tell you this. Let me ask honest question to my co-host, Cathy. Cathy was in one of the top schools, top university in China. So Cathy, what I just said, when you were in China, when you were in Shanghai, in the top university of Fudan, do you know this? Do you know what I just said?
No, never. Yeah, and actually, on the contrary, we have always been told that the United States is an imperial, enemy of our state, of our country, and how it and nowadays how it says is the United States trying to suppress the
rise
of China.
The rise of China.
So yeah, basically they always always instigate the hate against the United States.
Yeah. So guys, find any Chinese scholar, Chinese friend, Chinese overseas student, ask him this question. Tell them that what Wei just told me this. Do you know that? Even today, do you know that? I tell you, 99%, maybe 100% of them will say, no, I don't know. Okay. Yes, we all understand. To deal with the Soviet Union, U.S. needs China's help. So it just arm China and lift up China and equip China with all the, technology and the science and everything. Just transfer everything over there. My question is this: why Chinese people never knew? They never knew. Okay, they never knew. So let me tell you this. They did three things in those 20, 30 years. They played dumb first. They played dumb, let the U.S. drop its guard. Second, they take a lot. Well, that you cannot blame. U.S. want to give to them. The third, hide that take, right? Hide what they take and why. Chinese people never knew that it's essentially U.S. lift up China out of the poverty and the backwardness. They thought the CCP lead them to create all those. That's the message. That's always the message that the CCP just instill in their head every day. Okay, they don't know it's the U.S. that lifted China out of poverty, bring China into modernization. No, they don't know. And why they hide that? Why they hide that? It's not as simple as that they want to take the credit. It's because someday, they know they're gonna have U.S. as a rivalry. When they're strong enough, they're gonna destroy U.S. And we cannot let our people know that U.S. helped us. Otherwise, in a normal country, they would tell everybody, those Americans, they came over, they helped us, we're appreciative, right? Isn't that good to grow a good relationship in that way? Tell your people, well, appreciative, U.S., we're buddies, you helped us before, we shall continue our friendship, unless someday they want to destroy U.S., right? So they harbor that ill intention from day one. Why? Because this is called the Chinese Communist Party. The communism is an evil regime, it's an evil empire. They harbor that ill intention on the day one. When Mao Zedong was lower his back, be humble, we're very poor, please help us out. We will be never any threat to you, sir. They are willing to do that. And Deng Xiaoping put on his 10-gallon cowboy hat and play dumb, play humble in order to win all those technology. And he succeeded. So in order to deal with the ferocious polar bear, U.S. feed and grow a poisonous snake, which is CCP today. That's what the U.S. ended up with. So what I want to say is this, okay? The world should never, ever underestimate the evilness, the viciousness of the CCP and its determination to stay in power and to take over the world. That's in their genes. That's in their genes. They would never reform to become a normal country. They would never do that. That's just fantasy. That's fantasy that the people have in this world. They would never do that. They will take whatever the other country gave them, take that as nutrition, and grow is viciousness.
Yeah, and as a lot of Chinese people, actually, if you ask them off the record, privately, Chinese people from mainland China, they will tell you what they think about CCP is. They would say CCP is something that it can just say the best thing. They can say anything sounds the best, but they can do the worst thing. They can do anything. So that's just its nature. But if you think, it comes back to our question is whether, the United States should and how to cooperate with China on the scientific, in the science field or academic field or any other business field, what's the best way to do it? Just, you have to really, really understand the nature of CCP first, then decide how you're going to deal with it.
Yeah, and I was just talking to my Chinese audience about 1 hour ago, right? We just discussed there because we Chinese Americans are in a very awkward situation. Okay, in this U.S.-Sino conflict, where do we stand? Where do we stand? Because many of them collaborate with the CCP. They collect the sand, they send the sand over to CCP, and they didn't do it because they are professional spy. Because their family, their relatives are in China. They are held hostage. Because Chinese government invests so much money in the Chinese media, Chinese American media, and they give so much money to the Chinese consulate and embassy so that they can grow this pro-CCP, so-called pro-China organizations who are active all over in the Chinese community, all over the U.S.
Yeah, because Chinese people are deceived by those CCP media, still thinking, a lot of them thinking, oh, the United States is our enemy. They are suppressing the rights of China. We have to help our motherland. That's indeed a lot of Chinese people. Unfortunately, they are deceived to think that way.
Yeah. So think about it. In the 1978, right, when 700 Chinese students came to the U.S., starting in 1979, when 19,000 Chinese students came to the U.S., why they were not afraid that they're going to defect, like the people from the Soviet Union, right? That's why Soviet Union never opened the door and sent their overseas students to the U.S. because they know they're going to all defecting. They're going to all run away. Why that didn't happen? Because CCP is much, much more cunning, okay? First, they hold their family and relative hostage in China. If you dare to criticize CCP, they're going to punish them. That's the first thing. The second thing, they build an international atmosphere through controlling Chinese American media, Chinese Canadian media, and through all those organizations, folk organizations. They infiltrate all those folk organizations and the college student association in the college, and so on and so forth. They are bold enough, they are daring enough, they are comprehensive enough to build an international net, so that so that Chinese people, wherever you are under the shadow of the CCP. And those Chinese people knew that. They're afraid. They're afraid that they are not to live as a free man because they know their family are still in China. That's their situation. So what I told them is this. I said, first, you can do one of the two things. First, very simple, okay? Obey the law, don't spy, be loyal to U.S., to America, and whatever host country you are now in, you swear as a citizen for. And then stay away from any forced people from the Chinese consulate or the embassy or government official when you go back to China. Just don't deal with them. Keep a distance. That way, they will not be able to control you or threaten you. Just very courteous, keep a distance. The second is, of course, is like Cathy and Wei. Speak out boldly, courageously, and reveal the truth of the CCP, just like how the intellectuals from Eastern European bloc exposed Soviet Union, right? Mm-hmm. The communism over there. They help America, win the Cold War. Otherwise, American actually, this is what I learned through my interview. American didn't know what the Soviet Union was. It's those intellectuals who fled Soviet Union, teach American people, telling American people what is communism, what is Gulag, and what is that evil empire. That's how we won the Cold War, and I think that's the second thing you can do. So anyway, so I just want to say that Chinese people, they are not a CCP. Chinese people are people who lost their country to the CCP. Okay, most of them are good people, but they're afraid. Okay,
they're either afraid or deceived.
Yeah, afraid or deceived. Some of them are deceived. They really hate the U.S. And they make money in the U.S., enjoy the freedom here, and then they go back and pay and kowtow to the CCP. Some of them. Okay, not most of them, but some of them. So the U.S. needs to stand strong against the CCP, and be very strict in this type of exchange. And also, to be honest, U.S. should fund media like us, because we are the people. Actually, our radio is in the Silicon Valley. We teach those people working at Apple and Cisco and Facebook or whatever. We teach them to have a clear mind about the CCP. Those Chinese engineers, 1/3 of them are Chinese. Okay, but financially we need a lot of support. Okay, it's not easy to maintain the media, let alone building a strong media. So anyway, so that's where we are. If we have our way, okay, we wish that America should fund us, really fund us, and that's gonna do a tremendous use to the U.S., to our national security. Anyway, that's much bigger topic. That's not closely related to today. I just want you to know that the truth that as we see, or the solution that we see. Okay, thank you for staying with us, and hearing us.
Yeah, I was just reading a lot of the comments. Yeah, so yeah, and I saw people who are. Twinkly was saying, how we can feel sorry for Chinese people how they can get their freedom. Yes, that's why actually one of the other reasons we wanted to expose what the CCP really is, because not only people in China, just as actually it was said by our Chinese audience, they realized that as long as CCP is there, they do not only harm Chinese people, they are starting to harm people in the United States and around the world. So it's really, really important that the people know about the nature of the CCP and start to fight back in whatever way one can, in different capacities that we can or you can.
Yeah, thank you for watching us. If you can, still press the likes. I don't know how much use that is, but please still do that. But most important is just leave us with your email so that we can get a hold of you.
They are some of them suggesting that we have a website.
Yes, actually, I was thinking about that today. I think in the near future we'll have that.
Yeah. In the meanwhile, you can send it. Your email directly to our email address, and we won't, use it for any other purpose, but just to keep you in touch with us.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Let's stay together, stay strong, and stay hopeful. And I think God's there, and things will work out.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Have a good weekend.
Take care, and have a good weekend. Bye-bye.
Bye.